Today we're going to talk about ECG interpretation with a 3-lead ECG and primarily looking at the second lead of the ECG. So first I want to explain why would we get a positive deflection and why would we get the negative deflection. So if you've got the negative to positive, if you have the positive moving towards the positive charge, you're going to get a positive deflection. And if you have a positive moving towards a negative charge, you're going to get a negative. You're going to get a negative deflection. And the same is true if you have a negative charge moving towards another negative charge. You're going to get a positive deflection. All right, so that's out of the way. So with the second lead of the ECG, you're looking from the apex of the heart to the around the right atrium. So you're kind of looking at it from this angle. You're looking up towards the heart. So you're really looking at the electrical activity moving through the heart from top to bottom. And this is shown with the ECG waves. So I'll explain the ECG waves. So with the ECG waves, first of all, we have the P wave. And the P wave is showing us that in this cross section of the heart, if you have the SA node over here, which is the sinoatrial node, or the pacemaker of the heart, during the P wave, the action potentials are moving from the SA node to the atrioventricular or AV node. And this is depolarizing or making the atria more positive, therefore leading to a contraction. So that's what's going on in the P wave. Then we have the PR segment. And during the PR segment, we've got the action potential just holding at the AV node. So they're just waiting there because you don't want the atria and the ventricles to contract at the same time. You want a little bit of a difference so you can get the blood from the atria to the ventricles. This is why you have the action potentials holding at the AV node. Then we have the Q wave. And during the Q wave, we have the action potentials moving down through the intraventricular septum. And because the left side of the intraventricular septum is thicker and larger, it's going to send action potentials over to the right side, like that. And it's going to give us the positive moving towards the negative when we talk about vectors and stuff like that. So it's going to be more of the positive charge is going to move towards the negative side. So this is why we get a downward deflection. After that, we have the big R wave. And the R wave is so great because, first of all, we have the SA node sending action potentials to the AV node. Then the AV node is sending those action potentials through the intraventricular septum and then down into the myocardium of the right and left ventricles, causing them to depolarize. This is why we get such a big positive deflection, because this is telling us that that thick wall of the left ventricle is going to be depolarizing, and that's why we get such a big tick, big deflection. After that, we have the S wave. And the S wave, we get a negative deflection because once the myocardium of the apex of the heart is depolarized, those action potentials are going to head towards the base of the ventricles, and they're going to head up this way like this. And this is going to give us a net vector towards the negative electrode. So this is where we get the negative deflection. So now the heart is fully the ventricles are fully depolarized, so they've contracted. Then we get the ST segment. And during the ST segment, everything's depolarized, so everything's just waiting to repolarize. So the heart's contracted, and this is the stage where the heart is just resting. It's just waiting to be repolarized again, so then it can have another contraction, another cardiac cycle. So if I come down here, so once again, we have the SA node, and the SA node sends action potentials, depolarizing the atria, contracting the atria, to the atrioventricular node. The action potentials wait at the atrioventricular node. Then they get sent through the bundle of His, through the intraventricular septum, then up through the ventricular myocardium, then everything's done, everything's repolarized. So now what we get is the T wave, and the T wave is interesting because it's a positive deflection, but nothing is being depolarized. The heart is being repolarized. So if I come down here, get rid of these. So everything in this heart has been depolarized, so everything's contracted, and now it needs to repolarize so then it can have another cardiac cycle. So what happens is during the depolarization, the myocardium is depolarized first and then the epicardium. When it's being repolarized, it's the opposite. So the epicardium becomes repolarized first and then the myocardium. So if we think about it, there's positive charges in here. Everything's positive. When we start to repolarize the heart, we get these negative, we start to repolarize from bottom to top. So like this way. So what we're getting is the negative moving towards that negative electrode. Therefore, that's why we get the T wave as a positive deflection. What else do I have to explain? And that's pretty much it. Yeah, as I've explained, with the second lead, the reason why we look at the second lead just for basic ECGs is that if I'm standing here, the positive electrode would be on my right shoulder or right arm, and the negative electrode would be down on my leg, my left leg. Therefore, it's looking at my heart from this angle. So it's looking up like here, and if the base of my heart's around here, the apex of my heart's around here, it's going to be looking up that way. And that's why we use the second lead of the ECG. Thanks for watching.